Hello to all my dear followers. This is a video I strongly recommend you save, because here you'll find many of my very best full cake recipes. You can think of it as a complete baking course, the kind people often pay a lot of money for, but here, you'll get it for free. As always, I provide measurements in both European and American units, along with plenty of tips and tricks to help you get perfect results every time. And I do it all with love, straight from my heart. All I ask in return is that if you enjoy my recipes, please support my channel by giving this video a like and subscribing. And if you'd like to support me a little more, you'll find my PayPal link in the video description. My dream has always been to open my own bakery, and even now, at the age of 50, I'm still saving every penny to make that dream come true. Every single donation, no matter how small, whether it's a few cents, $1, or more, goes directly toward that goal. Thank you so much for your support. I will continue to share my knowledge and give all my content for free, unlike many others who sell their courses. Even if you can't donate, just leaving a like already helps me grow and reach more people. But if you are able to make even the smallest contribution, it would mean the world to me, just like I hope this course will mean a lot to you. Thank you so much, and now, let's get started with the course. Today we're going to make 2 recipes with oats and chocolate that you're going to love. The first recipe only has 3 ingredients and is gluten-free, egg-free, dairy-free, and no baking required. You'll need 3 bananas. Mash the bananas. Add 30 g, 2 tablespoons, of cocoa powder. 1/2 teaspoon of ground cinnamon, optional. Mix well. Add 250 g, 3 cups, of oats. Fry over medium heat for 2 to 3 minutes, stirring constantly. Mix well. I use an 18 centimeters, 7-inch mold, but you can use whatever size you have. Grease it with vegetable oil so it doesn't stick. If you like my video, I'd be very happy if you subscribe to my channel and leave a comment. We need 2 more bananas for the filling. Cover with the second half. You'll need 100 g, 3.5 ounces, of chocolate. Melt the chocolate using your preferred method. Add 2 to 3 teaspoons of oil. Unmold and cover with chocolate. I use dark chocolate, but use whichever you prefer. Do it like in the video. Decorate with almond brittle. Leave it in the fridge for 1 hour or in the freezer for 15 minutes. Oats are one of those staple ingredients I always have at home, and I absolutely love using them in baking. They're affordable, easy to find, and super versatile. In this recipe, oats provide the base and structure, but also bring fiber, long-lasting energy, and a really comforting texture. If you use certified gluten-free oats, this cake is also great for anyone with intolerances. A lot of people think desserts can't be healthy, but this recipe proves otherwise. There's no refined flour, no sugar, and no artificial stuff. Just simple, natural ingredients you probably already have. And best of all, it still feels like a treat from start to finish. I love sharing recipes like this because they show that you don't need fancy ingredients to make something delicious. People often think eating healthy is expensive or time-consuming, but it really doesn't have to be. With just a few things you probably already have in your kitchen, like bananas, oats, and cocoa powder, you can make a cake that's not only tasty, but also nourishing. And the best part? You can customize it however you like. Add some chopped nuts, switch up the chocolate, or mix in your favorite fruits. These kinds of recipes are easy, fast, and don't even need an oven, which makes them perfect for beginners too. My goal is to keep things simple, delicious, and accessible to everyone. Cut with a knife warmed in water for a clean slice. The result is an incredibly delicious cake. Honestly, this cake is super tasty and much healthier than other options, and don't go yet, because now I'll show you how to make another similar recipe. Now let's move on to the second recipe. This one is just as simple, full of wholesome ingredients, and perfect if you're craving something soft, chocolatey, and naturally sweet. Start by adding 150 g, 1½ cups, of oats to a bowl. Then pour in 250 milliliters, 1 cup, of warm milk. Stir well to combine, and set the mixture aside for now so the oats can absorb the liquid. Next, peel 2 ripe bananas and mash them in a separate bowl until smooth. Add 2 eggs to the mashed bananas and mix everything thoroughly. Now it's time to add the flavor. Add 3 tablespoons of unsweetened cocoa powder, 1/2 teaspoon of baking powder, and a pinch of salt. Combine the banana mixture with the oats and milk. Stir everything together until you get a uniform, slightly thick batter. Pour the mixture into a baking dish or small cake pan, spreading it out evenly. Top it with some crushed pistachios for a bit of crunch and color. Bake at 160 degrees Celsius 320 degrees Fahrenheit for 40 minutes, or until the center is set and a toothpick comes out clean. While it bakes, prepare a quick chocolate topping. Melt 50 g, 1.75 ounces, of chocolate with 30 milliliters, 2 tablespoons, of very hot milk. Stir until smooth and glossy. Once your cake has cooled slightly, drizzle it with the melted chocolate. You can also decorate it with dark chocolate, chopped nuts, and a few pieces of white chocolate for contrast and extra flavor. The result is a soft, rich, and satisfying cake that feels indulgent but is made with simple, nutritious ingredients. It's a great alternative to store-bought desserts, and perfect for anyone looking for healthier sweet options without giving up on taste. Today we're going to decorate 2 amazing cakes, easy to make, in very little time and with very few ingredients. Here I show you a cream made with just 2 ingredients, butter and sweetened condensed milk. It's a perfect cream for decorating. The full step-by-step tutorial is available on my channel. I've left the link above so you can check it out. I divide the cream into 2 bowls and tint it with pink gel food coloring. Here I show you different options of food coloring you can use. Depending on the shade you want, add more or less and mix well with a spatula until fully combined. To get a soft pink, I added the coloring twice, about 5 or 6 drops in total. On the other hand, to get an intense red, we'll need much more coloring. In this case, I add the coloring in 4 stages, using a generous amount each time, and mix well. I won't cut this process so you can see how the cream maintains its texture and how much coloring is needed to get this beautiful tone. Also, I want you to know that the flavor doesn't change, the cream remains delicious, smooth, and perfect. I start with the red cake. To decorate it, I have 3 piping tips, 2 leaf tips, number 68 and number 113. 1 large tip, no, 1E. I unmold the cake, which has a heart shape, 15 centimeters, 6 inches in diameter. It's a sponge cake with Oreo filling. If you want to learn how to make both the sponge and the filling, you'll find the tutorials on my channel. I apply the first layer of cream, a thin coat to seal the crumbs. I smooth the surface and place the cake in the fridge for 10 minutes. Meanwhile, I fill the piping bags with the tinted cream and set aside a bit to apply a second layer to the cake later. If you're working in an environment where the temperature isn't very high, buttercream can harden. I recommend slightly warming it to restore its smooth texture. You can do this in the microwave in 20-second intervals or in a double boiler for a short time, always watching and stirring. If you like my video, I would be very happy if you subscribe to my channel and leave a comment. To decorate the cake, I do it this way. It's a very easy process and perfect if you're a beginner in cake decorating. These 2 decorations will help you improve your technique, as they're easy to follow and simple to achieve. For the final decoration, I'll use my favorite piping tip, the 1E. I love this tip because it's perfect for creating a spectacular finish. To give it an even more special touch, I add white pearls, and on the top, I apply edible glitter. I also place some cherries coated in edible glitter, which gives the cake a beautiful and sophisticated design. As you can see, achieving this elegant finish wasn't difficult at all. I would have liked to include a timer, as I do in almost all my tutorials, so you could see how quick and easy it is to achieve such a beautiful design worthy of a high-end pastry shop. The second cake I'll show you next is a large one, 20 centimeters, 8 inches, in diameter by 15 centimeters, 6 inches, in height. Look how firm it is. It has a chocolate mousse filling with chocolate ganache and Nutella. Also, I want to tell you something important. When a cake is firm and has straight sides, like this one, you already have half the work done when it comes to covering and decorating. This makes smoothing and covering the cake much easier and faster. This cake is very special to me because it's for my birthday, and it's also a new recipe I haven't yet uploaded to my channel. Stay until the end of the video to see how the slices look when I cut it. And if you like it, let me know in the comments so I can make a step-by-step video with this delicious filling. Once I finish covering it, I'll make a simple decoration with the 1E tip. Without placing the cake in the fridge, I add little flowers around, since the buttercream stays soft and is easier to work with. Before placing each stem on the cake, I dip it in vodka to disinfect it. You could also seal them with melted chocolate if you prefer another option. To decorate these 2 cakes, I use only 500 g, 17.6 ounces, of butter and 500 g, 17.6 ounces, of sweetened condensed milk. With just these 2 ingredients, we achieve a perfect cream. If you liked this video, help me by sharing it on your social networks. Your support means so much to me. From which country are you watching me? Let me know in the comments along with a heart. I'd love to read it. These little flowers look beautiful around the cake, giving it a unique and special touch. You can find them in florists, both fresh and dried, and both options look amazing. Did you like the color combination? I love it. As my kids would say, very Tundes cakes. I place some little bows on the sides of the cake. It's very easy to do, since the cream is soft, you just need to press a little and the bow will stick perfectly. For the final touch, I place a sheet of clear plastic over the cake and on top a small pile of edible gold glitter. Of course. I go out to the patio to blow out the candle so I don't fill my workspace with glitter. If I had done it at night with lights pointing at it, it would have looked even better, but even so, I loved the idea. Time to taste this cake. Look at that perfect slice. Vanilla sponge cake with a middle layer of chocolate sponge. Chocolate mousse cream with chocolate ganache and Nutella. Wow, it's delicious. Soft, creamy, and with an amazing flavor. If you'd like me to make a step-by-step video with this incredible filling, let me know in the comments. Thank you very much and see you soon. In this tutorial, I'll show you step by step how to make 2 spectacular carrot cakes. We start with a very easy and quick sponge cake recipe, just 1 minute of mixing with a hand whisk and it's ready. Then we prepare a delicious cream cheese frosting, smooth and ready in just a few minutes. We also use ingredients as natural and healthy as possible, such as carbonel extra virgin olive oil, brown sugar, ground almonds, walnuts, and fresh carrots to achieve a more nutritious result without losing flavor. But that's not all. Each cake has 3 irresistible fillings, the classic cream cheese, one with red berries, and another with pineapple that pair perfectly with the sponge cake. The decoration is also simple and designed for people with no experience in smoothing cakes. We only use a spatula and a simple smoother along with the cream cheese to achieve an attractive, elegant result without complications. Perfect for those looking for homemade, healthy, and easy to follow recipes. Go ahead and make a cake this beautiful with very little work. And before we start with the step-by-step, don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. Share this recipe with that special person you'd like to enjoy such an easy and delicious cake with, and leave me a comment telling me if you'll give it a try. Let's start with the recipe. I begin by adding 250 milliliters, 1 cup, of olive oil to a bowl, followed by 400 g, 2 cups packed, of brown sugar. I stir lightly with a hand whisk, just until combined. Separately, I crack 8 eggs one by one into a small bowl. I do this to avoid any shell pieces falling into the mixture. I add 2 or 3 eggs at a time to the sugar and oil mixture, mixing for just a few seconds each time, without overbeating, just until well incorporated. Once all the eggs have been added and the mixture is smooth, I set it aside for a moment. In another bowl, I have 500 cups of flour, previously sifted. I add 1 teaspoon of cinnamon, a pinch of salt, and 1 packet of baking powder, which is about 15 1 tablespoon. I mix lightly, then add 100 1 cup of ground almonds. The mixture I'm preparing is enough for 2 cakes, it's a double batch. If you only need to make one, simply use half the ingredients. I start adding this dry mixture to the wet mixture in 2 or 3 additions, gently stirring with a hand whisk until everything is combined. Now add a generous tablespoon of vanilla extract. You can use another flavoring if you prefer. Next, I add approximately 10 large carrots, finely grated, about 500 5 cups, in 2 additions, mixing with a silicone spatula. Finally, I chop 100 1 cup, of natural walnuts into large pieces and fold them into the mixture. And that's it, the batter for our cakes is ready. I'm going to use 3 18 centimeters, 7-inch, round pans. I line them with parchment paper, grease them, and divide the batter evenly among the 3. I bake the first 2 pans together in a static oven with heat on top and bottom at 170 degrees Celsius 340 degrees Fahrenheit for 30 minutes. Then I bake the third cake separately. Once baked, I unmold them and place them on a rack, using the same cake pan underneath so that the air circulates well and they don't get soggy. This is a quick and practical way to cool the cakes. When they're cool, I wrap them in plastic wrap so they stay fresh and moist. You can keep them like this until the next day before cutting them. I cut each cake into 3 layers, 2 full layers and 1 thinner top layer, the dome. That gives me 8 nice slices in total, perfect for assembling a layer cake. Now let's prepare the cream cheese frosting. I add 500 2¼ cups, of butter at room temperature. You can soften it in the microwave for about 30 seconds if needed. I beat it with the mixer at medium speed, between 4 and 6, for 1 minute. I add 250 2 cups, of powdered sugar and beat for another minute until the butter is pale and has doubled in volume. Now I add 600 21 ounces, of cream cheese, like Philadelphia brand. I also add a generous tablespoon of vanilla extract. I beat for 1 more minute, just until well combined into a smooth cream. I scrape down the sides of the bowl with a spatula and beat just a little more to incorporate everything. That's it, the frosting is delicious, creamy, and perfect for filling and covering the 2 cakes. Separately, I whip 2 cups 480 milliliters of heavy cream or whipping cream, whichever you have or prefer. I use Purato's ambient cream. I whip it for 1 minute until soft peaks form. In another bowl, I mix 2 tablespoons of cream cheese with 2 tablespoons of sweetened condensed milk. I mix until smooth. When the whipped cream has reached the desired creamy consistency, I add this cream cheese condensed milk mixture. I beat for another 30 seconds to 1 minute until it's firm. And that's it for this cream. I divide it into 2 bowls because now we're going to make 2 different flavors. In one bowl, I add chopped pineapple. I use a small can with about 4 slices, cut into tiny pieces, without the juice. In the other bowl, I add a good tablespoon of red berry jam. I mix both bowls well and set them aside for now. Separately, I prepare 1 packet of unflavored gelatin, which is 10 g, 1 tablespoon. I add it to 100 milliliters, 1/3 cup plus 1 tablespoon, of cold water and let it bloom until the granules disappear and it's fully hydrated. Once bloomed, I microwave it until completely melted. I divide the gelatin into 2 equal parts. For 1 part, I add a little pineapple cream to temper it so it's not too hot, then add it to the rest of the pineapple cream. I mix well until fully combined. I do exactly the same with the red berry cream. Now I prepare 2 18 centimeters, 7-inch, round pans, like the ones we used before. I line the inside with plastic wrap to make unmolding easier. I place the first cake layer in each pan. I add a little pineapple juice on top, then the pineapple cream. It's soft now, but the gelatin will set it into a delicious pineapple mousse. I place the second cake layer in each pan and spread cream cheese frosting in the center, 2 spoonfuls in each pan, smoothing it with a spatula. I place the third cake layer on top and brush with a little juice from the red berry jam. Then I spread the red berry cream, which already has a mousse-like texture. I smooth it out, place the final cake layer on top, press slightly to remove air pockets, and cover with plastic wrap touching the cake surface. I refrigerate both cakes for at least 4 hours, ideally overnight, so the gelatin sets and the cakes become firm, fresh, and delicious. The next day, I unmold them by placing the cake on a glass and carefully sliding down the cake ring. I remove the plastic wrap, and here's the beautiful cake. I turn it onto a base and start covering it. I use a large piping tip to frost, it makes covering easier without using a spatula. I smooth it with a straight scraper, then use one with a wave design. In my case, I covered it very quickly because my idea is to help people who don't know how to smooth cakes, and this is a perfect way to get a nice result without stress. Then you can decorate as you like. For 1 cake, I add a little drip just on one side, and for the other, the drip goes all around. I sprinkle crushed cookies at the base and some on top. With the leftover frosting, I pipe small decorative details. I had some dried raspberries, which I also used for decoration, and of course some decorative carrots that look beautiful on this cake. And look at this perfect slice, it has 3 layers of cream, carrot-filled sponge with that lovely color from the brown sugar and walnuts. A beautiful, healthy, and delicious cake. Honestly, once you have 1 slice, you'll want another and another until it's gone. That's how this delicious cake turns out, truly wonderful. If you liked this recipe, share it with your friends, family, or anyone you'd like to enjoy such a delicious and easy cake with. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and if you're already subscribed, thank you so much. Share my channel on your social media so more people can discover it and be inspired to subscribe. Thank you for all the love you give me. It makes me so happy to see so many of you enjoying my tutorials and making them at home. I read all your comments, although sometimes I don't have time to respond to everyone. I'm truly sorry. And a very special thanks to the channel members. I love seeing you here, I know you care a lot about me, and I feel the same about you. I make these tutorials with lots of love, always thinking of you and how we can have easy, practical, and impressive recipes, because I know we don't always have time, even if we love baking. With a well-made, quick, and healthy cake, you can always impress. Thank you so much, and see you soon. In this recipe, we combine the softness and creaminess of yogurt with the juicy freshness of cherries, creating a surprising fusion of flavors. But I won't just show you how to make this recipe, I'll also teach you how to make an ultra fluffy yogurt cake. Just look at how it moves, so soft and airy. Stay until the end of the video to see this masterpiece. In all my recipes, I include both European and American measurements so that everyone can follow them easily, no matter where they are in the world. This way, you can enjoy these delicious treats without worrying about conversions. Let's get started with the recipe. Clean and pit 500 grams, about 1.1 pounds, of fresh, ripe black cherries, or use 500 grams, about 1.1 pounds, of frozen cherries. You can also choose any other fruit of your preference. Add 150 grams, about 3/4 cup, of sugar, 70 grams, about half a cup, of cornstarch, and 150 milliliters, about 2/3 cup, of very hot water. Mix well and bring the pot to the heat. Cook the cherry mixture until it thickens completely. Let it boil for a few more seconds, then remove from the heat and set it aside for now. Let's prepare the dough. Start by adding 4 egg yolks, half a teaspoon of salt, and 80 grams, about 2/3 cup, of powdered sugar. Mix until well combined. Then add 80 grams, about 5½ tablespoons, of melted butter and continue mixing until you get a kind of sweet mayonnaise. Next, add a generous teaspoon of vanilla extract. Add 250 grams, about 2 cups, of rice flour and 1 teaspoon of gluten-free baking powder. Mix well until you get a soft and uniform dough. Reserve a small piece of dough and place it in the freezer for 15 minutes. Prepare a 26 centimeters, about 10 inches, diameter and 7 centimeters, about 2 3/4 inches, high mold or similar, lining it with parchment paper. Spread the dough evenly on the bottom and sides of the mold. Pour the cherry mixture into the mold, spread it into an even layer, and set it aside for now. The next step is to prepare the yogurt cream. Add 500 grams, about 2 cups, of yogurt and 70 grams, about half a cup, of cornstarch to a bowl. Mix lightly and add a teaspoon of vanilla extract. Mix again and set it aside for now. Next, beat the egg whites. Add 4 egg whites and a pinch of salt to a bowl. Beat on high speed until they start to foam. Add 130 grams, about 2/3 cup, of sugar in several additions, beating on high speed after each addition until you get a firm peak meringue. Combine the yogurt mixture with the meringue, gently folding until fully integrated, then pour the mixture over the cherries in the mold. Finally, take the piece of dough you had in the freezer and grate it over the top of the meringue and yogurt layer in the mold. Bake the cake in the oven at a temperature of 160 to 170 degrees Celsius, 320 to 340 degrees Fahrenheit, for 45 minutes. Try this wonderful combination of flavors and treat your palate in a healthy and delicious way. Subscribe for more creative and gluten-free recipes. Preparing it is a simple and rewarding process, and don't go yet. Up next, I'll show you how to make a yogurt cake so fluffy that it has the potential to become your favorite. A yogurt cake is an ultra-soft dessert that will leave you speechless. Best of all, it's very easy to prepare and made with simple ingredients. We will start by separating 4 medium-sized eggs into whites and yolks, placing the yolks in one bowl and the whites in another. In the bowl with the yolks, add 3 tablespoons of sugar and mix well using a manual whisk or hand mixer. Beat for 1 or 2 minutes until the yolks double in volume, become a pale color, and reach a thick consistency. Next step. Mix 3 tablespoons of cornstarch with 1 teaspoon of baking powder. Add the cornstarch to the yolks and mix for a moment with the mixer turned off to avoid splattering. Then beat for a few seconds until fully combined. Next, add 400 grams, about 1 3/4 cups, of plain Greek yogurt and beat the mixture again until well incorporated. Finally, add a teaspoon of vanilla extract, mix again, and set the yolk mixture aside for now. At this point in the recipe, it's time to preheat the oven to 160 degrees Celsius 320 degrees Fahrenheit with heat on both top and bottom. In the other bowl with the egg whites, add half a teaspoon of salt and beat until you get firm peaks. It's important to make sure the eggs are at room temperature for the best results when whipping the whites. Once the egg whites are whipped and firm, combine the 2 mixtures. Start by adding half of the whipped egg whites and gently fold with a spatula. Then add the other half and mix until fully combined. Pour the mixture into the mold. In my case, I use a 15 by 15 centimeters, about 6 by 6 inches, square mold with a height of 10 centimeters, about 4 inches, lined with parchment paper without greasing. We don't grease the mold to allow the batter to rise evenly in the oven. Now it's time to bake our yogurt cake at 160 degrees Celsius, 320 degrees Fahrenheit, with heat on both top and bottom for about 45 minutes. Once the baking time is up, turn off the oven and leave the cake inside with the door slightly open for another 5 minutes. Carefully unmold the cake. Surprise your loved ones with this delicious preparation and get ready to receive compliments. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel for more amazing recipes. Today I'm bringing you an easy and budget-friendly recipe for a crispy millefoglie, filled with a smooth and silky cream called diplomat cream. Open the puff pastry package and unroll it over the parchment paper it comes with. In my case, it's not necessary, but if you notice your puff pastry feels a bit sticky, maybe it picked up some moisture, just sprinkle a little flour on top. Place it on a baking sheet, poke it with a fork, and sprinkle granulated sugar over it. Cover the pastry with another sheet of parchment paper so it doesn't stick, and place another baking sheet or an oven-safe dish on top. This way, it won't puff up too much while baking, and the sugar will give it a nice caramelized flavor. Bake it in a preheated oven at 180 degrees Celsius 355 degrees Fahrenheit for 35 minutes. To make the cream, start by blooming the gelatin. I use 20 grams, about 0.7 ounces or 2 tablespoons, of unflavored powdered gelatin. Add 100 milliliters, a bit over 1/3 cup, of cold water and set it aside. You can also use gelatin sheets if you prefer. Besides the gelatin, you'll need 5 egg yolks, 200 g, 1 cup of granulated sugar, 2 tablespoons of all-purpose flour, 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract, 500 milliliters, 2 cups of milk, and 600 milliliters, 2.5 cups of very cold heavy cream. In a saucepan, heat a bit more than half of the milk, from the 500 milliliters / 2 cups, and in a separate bowl, add the 5 egg yolks. Add the 200 g, 1 cup, of sugar, the 2 tablespoons of flour, and 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract. Whisk everything together, then pour in the rest of the cold milk. Mix well until smooth and lump-free. Now slowly add the hot milk while whisking, then pour the whole mixture back into the saucepan. Cook it over medium heat, stirring constantly, until it thickens nicely. Transfer the cream to a clean bowl. This helps it cool down faster, and cover it with plastic wrap, pressing it directly against the surface to prevent a skin from forming. When the cream is almost cold, start whipping the 600 milliliters, 2.5 cups, of cold heavy cream. Gently heat the bloomed gelatin in the microwave for a few seconds until it melts. You can add the gelatin to the cream in 2 ways. One option is to stir it into the pastry cream just after turning off the heat. The other, which is what I'm doing now, is to add it to the whipped cream when combining it with the cooled pastry cream. This recipe is honestly one of the best desserts you can make at home. It's super easy, very affordable, and the result looks and tastes like something from a fancy bakery. With just a few simple ingredients, you get a crispy, flaky puff pastry and a creamy, silky filling that's incredibly light and delicious. The best part? You get a big cake out of it, perfect for sharing with family or friends, or for keeping in the fridge and enjoying over several days. And the layers stay crunchy even after a couple of days, which is amazing. You don't need any special tools or skills. If you can whisk and layer, you can make this. It's perfect for birthdays, celebrations, or just because you're craving something sweet but don't want to spend a lot of money or time. If you haven't tried making millefeuille at home, this is the recipe to start with. It's quick, simple, and absolutely worth it. To assemble the cake, place 1 layer of the puff pastry on a tray and place a square cake ring around it. If you don't have a ring mold, you can assemble it in any tray or baking dish with slightly high sides. About 5 centimeters, 2 inches is enough. Spread the cream evenly, then top with the second layer of puff pastry. Let the cake chill in the fridge for at least 4 hours so the cream sets. I left mine overnight. I hope you liked my way of baking and assembling this millefeuille. With this method, even after the cake is stored, the puff pastry stays crispy for days, it doesn't get soggy. As you can see, it cuts very nicely, the pastry stays crisp, and the cream is smooth and silky. It's a delicious, rich, and very affordable dessert. Dust with a bit of powdered sugar on top, and enjoy. If you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, I'd love to have you here. And if you're already subscribed, thank you so much. Leave me a comment and let me know what you thought of this recipe. I'd also love to hear what kinds of recipes you'd like to see in future videos. Share this tutorial with your friends, it really helps my channel grow. Thanks so much for your support, and see you soon. If you've landed on this video, I'm guessing you're looking for a really good cookie recipe. Well, you've come to the right place. Let me introduce myself. I'm Tundes. I come originally from Romania, and I've been baking for over 30 years. In this video, I've put together some of my all-time favorite cookie recipes. These are the ones I love the most, the best ones, the most delicious. You'll find all kinds here. Different doughs, cookies with fillings, simple coffee time cookies, even some macarons, meringue cookies, and choux-style cookies. There's something for everyone. So stay with me, and let's dive into a world full of sweet, homemade treats. Let's begin with the first recipe. We're going to prepare some delicious and tender butter cookies that melt in your mouth. They're very beautiful, tasty, and crumbly. It would make me so happy to know which country you're watching me from as I begin the recipe. Add 90 g of room temperature butter, 6½ tablespoons, to a bowl. This is the texture it should have. Add 90 g of powdered sugar, 3/4 cup, and mix very well. All ingredients should be at room temperature. Add 1 egg and 90 g of mayonnaise, 1/3 cup plus 1 tablespoon. Mix everything until you get a very smooth mixture. Add a little baking powder, a pinch of salt, and a generous teaspoon of vanilla extract. If you like my video, I would be very happy if you subscribe to my channel and leave a comment. Mix everything again and add 250 g of all-purpose flour, 2 cups, in 3 parts. Add 1 part of the flour, mix vigorously, then add the rest until finished. The resulting dough should have a soft consistency. I use the large piping tip number 1E. Here I show you 2 types of piping bags, one stronger and one thinner. If you use the thinner one, place 2 piping bags together to prevent it from tearing while making the cookies. Place the piping tip inside the piping bag, cut to size, and fill the bag with half of the cookie dough. Don't overfill the bag to make it easier to work with. Prepare a baking tray with parchment paper and shape the cookies however you like. Once the cookies are shaped, place them in the fridge for 20 minutes. Meanwhile, preheat your oven to 180 degrees Celsius 356 degrees Fahrenheit. Bake the cookies at 180 degrees Celsius 356 degrees Fahrenheit for 15 minutes. I recommend preheating the oven well, otherwise, the cookies may lose their shape. This is how beautiful they look, they kept the same shape and design I made with the star piping tip. With these quantities, I got 10 large cookies and 2 small ones. Dust with powdered sugar and store the cookies on a platter for serving. The cookies are very tender and crumbly, with a delicious vanilla flavor. Don't go anywhere. Up next, I'll be sharing more delicious homemade cookie recipes. Now let's move on to the second recipe. A simple, delicious, and healthy dessert that brings together the smoothness of red berry meringue with the crispiness of cookies. Start by adding 160 grams of cold water, about 2/3 cup, to a saucepan. Then add 11 grams of agar-agar, around 1 tablespoon, making sure it's a strong one with at least 900 strength. This cannot be replaced with gelatin. Next, add 200 grams of homemade red berry jam, about 3/4 cup, followed by 250 grams of sugar, 1 1/4 cups. While the syrup is cooking, take a separate bowl and add 80 grams of egg whites, which is about the whites of 2 large eggs. Just a reminder, you can find all the ingredients listed in the video description and in the pinned comment below. Give everything a good stir. Place the saucepan over medium heat and bring the mixture to a boil. Let it simmer for about 8 minutes, stirring occasionally, until it thickens into a smooth paste and reaches 100 degrees Celsius, 212 degrees Fahrenheit. Add 80 grams of sugar, around 1/3 cup plus 1 tablespoon, and beat everything together until you get a firm and glossy meringue. You can also do this with a hand mixer if that's more convenient. Once your syrup is ready, slowly pour it into the meringue, beating constantly as you go. Keep mixing until you get a fluffy, airy, and uniform texture. If you're enjoying this video, I'd be so happy if you subscribe to my channel and leave a comment. Now, fill a large piping bag, or even a plastic bag if you don't have one, with the zephyr mixture. Pipe small mounds of the mixture over Marie-style cookies, or if you prefer, directly onto parchment paper. Before the mixture sets, place another cookie on top to create a sandwich. Be sure to check out my other videos too, that really helps the channel grow. Now you can decorate them however you like, with sprinkles, shredded coconut, cocoa powder, or your favorite topping. This is such an easy, delicious, and healthy dessert, red berry zephyr with cookies. It combines the silky smoothness of meringue, the bold flavor of berries, and the crisp texture of cookies. Made with agar-agar, it's a light and natural treat, perfect for any occasion. Its velvety texture and unique taste will win you over from the very first bite. Thank you so much for watching, and don't go anywhere. Because coming up next is another delicious homemade cookie recipe you won't want to miss. Now let's move on to the third recipe. Discover how to make delicious cookies in just 5 minutes, no mixer needed. In this quick and easy recipe, I'll guide you step by step to create crispy, flavorful cookies that are perfect for satisfying cravings in record time. Enjoy the magic of homemade baking without the hassle. This recipe is incredibly simple to make. Start by adding 250 grams of butter, about 1 cup plus 1 tablespoon, softened to a creamy consistency. You can also use margarine. Soften and mix the butter until it becomes smooth and creamy. Then add 1 cup of powdered sugar, 90 grams or about 5 heaping tablespoons, and continue mixing until fully incorporated. Next, add 1 egg and mix again. Add vanilla sugar. I use 2 packets of 8 grams each, but this is optional. Also add 1/2 teaspoon of vanilla extract, or another flavoring of your choice. Incorporate the vanilla, then pour in 110 milliliters of olive oil, about half a cup. You can also use sunflower oil instead. Mix well, and now it's time to add the dry ingredients. You'll need 3 cups of all-purpose flour, 660 grams total, and 3/4 cup of cornstarch, 80 grams or 5 tablespoons. Add the flour gradually, and be sure to sift it. Start by adding 1 cup of flour and the cornstarch, mix using a whisk, then add another 1½ cups of flour along with 1 packet of baking powder, usually 16 grams, about 1 tablespoon. Sift it in, and since the dough will now be thicker, switch to mixing with your hands until everything is well combined. Keep half a cup of flour aside and add it only if needed, depending on the dough's texture. In my case, I use the full amount. The dough should be soft and not sticky to the touch. Finally, stir in half a cup of milk chocolate chips, or more if you like. You can also use dark or white chocolate, customize it to your taste and let me know in the comments how you made yours. Shape the cookies like this. They look beautiful when shaped like scoops of ice cream. They're very easy to make because the dough is soft and easy to handle. I use a 4 cm, 1.5 inch ice cream scoop for even shaping. Place the scoops onto a baking tray lined with parchment paper and bake them at 170 degrees Celsius 340 degrees Fahrenheit for 8 to 10 minutes, or until they're lightly golden. These cookies release an irresistible aroma while baking, filling your kitchen with the comforting scent of fresh homemade treats. Once out of the oven, they'll have a lovely golden color and a crisp bite. These cookies are perfect alongside your morning coffee or as an afternoon snack for the kids. Their crunchy and comforting texture makes them a perfect treat for any occasion, offering a simple yet delicious bite every time. The combination of flavors, from the sweetness of the sugar, to the richness of the butter, and the added chocolate, makes every bite absolutely delightful. Surprise your loved ones with this easy and delicious recipe, and get ready for lots of compliments. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel for more amazing recipes. And share this video with friends or on social media to help support my channel's growth. And don't go anywhere, up next, I'll be sharing another delicious homemade cookie recipe you won't want to miss. Now let's move on to the fourth recipe. I'm going to share an easy and simple recipe for cornstarch alfajores made with egg yolks. These soft sandwich cookies are filled with dulce de leche and rolled in shredded coconut for the perfect finishing touch. Add 150 grams of unsalted butter, about 2/3 cup, to a bowl. Then add 170 grams of powdered sugar, about 1½ cups, and mix well. Now add 9 egg yolks and 2 tablespoons of rum, and mix until you get a smooth, creamy consistency. Once the yolks and buttercream are fully blended, grate the zest of half a lemon into the mixture. If you're enjoying the video, please leave a comment, give it a like. Thank you so much for watching. Next, combine your dry ingredients. 420 grams of cornstarch, about 3½ cups. 90 grams of all-purpose flour, about 3/4 cup. And 1 teaspoon of baking powder. Sift everything together and mix well. Now add half of the flour mixture to the buttercream and stir until incorporated. Then add the rest and continue mixing until everything is fully combined. The dough is now perfect. Divide the dough into 3 equal portions. Roll out the first piece and wrap it in plastic wrap. This will make it easier to cut out the cookies later on. Let the dough rest in the refrigerator for 30 minutes. Cover it with plastic wrap to prevent it from drying out. Preheat your oven to 180 degrees Celsius 350 degrees Fahrenheit, use top and bottom heat, or a fan setting if your oven has one. Line 1 or more baking trays with parchment paper. Dust your surface lightly with flour and roll out the dough using a rolling pin. Cut the dough into circles using a cookie cutter about 5 centimeters, 2 inches in diameter, and place them onto the prepared tray. Bake the cookies for 10 minutes at 180 degrees Celsius 350 degrees Fahrenheit, then let them cool completely before filling them. Once baked, they should be just right, soft and delicate. Prepare a piping bag fitted with a 1 round tip, and fill it with about 1 cup of thick dulce de leche. Sandwich the cookies 2 by 2, piping a dollop of dulce de leche in the center and letting it slightly ooze out the sides. Then roll the edges in shredded coconut to finish them off. Surprise your friends and family with this classic and delicious treat, and don't forget to share this recipe with them. And don't go anywhere, up next, I'll be sharing another easy and delicious homemade cookie recipe you won't want to miss. Now let's move on to the fifth recipe. Today, we're making homemade cookies filled with Nutella. You're going to love them. These cookies have a completely different texture, you really have to try them. Start by sifting 325 grams of all-purpose flour, about 2.5 cups, into a large bowl with low sides. Then add 3 grams of baking powder, 1/2 teaspoon, and 130 grams of sugar, a bit over half a cup. Mix everything together. Add 1 whole egg and 2 egg yolks, from medium eggs. And don't forget, subscribe to my channel and hit the bell icon so you never miss a new video. Now add the zest of half a lemon, and using a fork, gently mix the eggs with the dry ingredients until well combined. Finally, pour in 100 grams of melted but cooled butter, about 7 tablespoons. Use a fork again to incorporate the butter. You'll start to see the dough forming into large crumbs. Continue by kneading the dough with your hands until you get a smooth, uniform consistency. Wrap the dough in plastic wrap and refrigerate it for 30 minutes to rest. Preheat your oven to 180 degrees Celsius 350 degrees Fahrenheit. On a lightly floured work surface, roll out the dough to about 4 millimeters thick, a little under 1/4 inch, forming a rectangle or round shape. Cut the cookies in whatever shapes you like. Here's how I like to do it. I use a variety of cookie cutters, and I press a decorative baking mat over the dough to imprint the surface. With just a few ingredients and a little time, you get the perfect dough, not sticky, easy to shape, and very comfortable to work with. You can support me by sharing my videos on your social media, it really helps. And be sure to check out my other videos too, that's super important for my channel's growth. You can even create flower designs using fondant or chocolate molds. Yes, this dough works beautifully for that too. That just proves how perfect and versatile this short crust dough really is. I also use plum jam in some versions. Baking cookies at home is such a fun activity, and it lets you personalize every shape and design. This ideal texture makes it easy to add fine details and decorations using fondant molds or textured mats, giving your cookies a professional look. Don't be afraid to experiment with shapes and decorations, enjoy the creative process of making your own unique cookies. The best part about this recipe is that it uses simple ingredients and comes together quickly. You get a dough that's easy to handle, not sticky, and strong enough to keep its shape, a real pleasure to work with. Now I'm going to leave you for about 5 minutes so you can watch how I prepare the cookie dough. If you'd like, you can stay and get some ideas, especially for the fondant molds I use. The jam I'm using is plum jam. Feel free to skip ahead if you prefer, or just relax and watch the process to see how I do it. Bake the cookies at 180 degrees Celsius 350 degrees Fahrenheit for 25 to 30 minutes, or until they're lightly golden. You can bake them a little less or a little more depending on whether you prefer them pale or more toasted, like I did. Once they've cooled, add a teaspoon of Nutella to the center of one cookie, then cover it with another. Gently press the edges to seal the filling inside. I hope you enjoyed this cookie recipe. Give them a try and let me know how it went in the comments. And don't go anywhere, up next is another amazing homemade cookie recipe that you definitely won't want to miss. We're making perfect purple macarons with a delicate, smooth texture and a delicious filling. I'll guide you through every step, from preparing the meringue to achieving the perfect consistency for a flawless macaron shell. These treats may seem tricky, but with the right technique, you'll master them in no time. Don't forget to subscribe, leave a comment, and let me know where you're watching from. Now, let's get started. 135 g, 4.76 ounces approximate 4.75 large egg whites, aged for at least 2 hours. Aging egg whites means letting them rest uncovered in the fridge for 24 to 48 hours. This helps create a more stable meringue. 190 g, 6.7 ounces 1 cup, granulated sugar. 190 g, 6.7 ounces 1 3/4 cups, almond flour, finely ground for the smoothest texture. 190 g, 6.7 ounces 1 1/2 cups, powdered sugar, store-bought for best results. Mix the powdered sugar with the almond flour in a food processor to get a fine, even texture, then sift twice. This helps create smooth and delicate macarons. Beat the aged egg whites until frothy, then gradually add the granulated sugar. Continue beating until the meringue is firm, glossy, and forms stiff peaks. Add a small amount of purple gel food coloring and mix well. If needed, add a little more for a deeper color. Fold the sifted almond flour and powdered sugar into the meringue. Mix gently until the batter reaches the ribbon stage, when it flows like lava and dissolves back into itself within 20 to 25 seconds. Be careful not to overmix or undermix. Transfer the batter into a piping bag with a round tip and pipe small circles onto a lined baking tray. Tap the tray against the counter to remove air bubbles. For an elegant touch, lightly dust with edible gold powder before baking. Let the macarons rest at room temperature for 30 to 60 minutes until a dry skin forms. Bake in a convection oven at 135 degrees Celsius 275 degrees Fahrenheit for 20 minutes, both trays at once, or a static oven at 135 degrees Celsius 275 degrees Fahrenheit for 20 minutes, one tray at a time, with heat from top and bottom. The macarons are done when they have a smooth shell and don't wobble when touched. Let them cool completely before filling. Use a piping bag with Swiss buttercream or your favorite filling. I recommend piping tip 1E for a beautiful effect. For the best texture, refrigerate the filled macarons in an airtight container for 24 hours before serving. If you liked my video, I'd be so happy if you subscribe to my channel and leave a comment. And don't scroll away, I've still got 2 more delicious cookie recipes coming up, and they're really worth sticking around for. Today, I'm going to show you how to transform simple egg whites into delicious meringue cookies or tapas, crispy on the outside and crunchy on the inside. A simple, budget-friendly dessert that's perfect for any occasion. They're crispy, with a touch of chocolate and an exquisite Oreo filling that makes them simply irresistible. An elegant and easy-to-make dessert. If you're looking for a simple, economical, and spectacular recipe, this is the one. Save the recipe and follow the steps to make them at home. You're going to love them. This recipe is extremely easy, delicious, and perfect for using up leftover egg whites that you might not know how to use. I'd be very happy if you let me know from which country you're watching as I begin to prepare this delicious recipe. To make the meringues, I start by weighing 350 grams, 12.3 ounces, of egg whites, which is approximately the whites of 9 eggs, and nearly 700 grams, 24.7 ounces, of sugar. This recipe is very easy to calculate, as it is based on the ratio of 1 part egg whites to 2 parts sugar. Place the egg whites and sugar in a bowl and stir with a whisk until combined. I use the same bowl from the mixer. Heat a saucepan with water over medium heat, and when it begins to simmer gently, place the bowl with the egg whites and sugar on top, ensuring it doesn't touch the water. Stir the mixture constantly with a whisk for about 5 minutes, until the egg whites are warm and the sugar has completely dissolved. Once ready, transfer the mixture to the mixer and beat on high speed for 6 minutes, until the meringue is firm and glossy. Add half a teaspoon of mint essence, or the flavor of your choice, along with 1 tablespoon of cornstarch. Beat for 1 more minute on medium speed to incorporate everything perfectly. The result will be a firm, glossy, and silky Swiss meringue, ready in about 8 minutes. Place the meringue in a piping bag or a bag fitted with a Wilton 1M tip, and pipe uniform meringues to make them look beautiful and elegant. And that's it. With this amount of sugar and egg whites, you'll get 4 trays of meringues in shapes like roses and hearts, just as I made them. If you're using a convection oven, you can bake all 4 trays at once, just as I do. However, if you're using a conventional oven, it's better to bake the trays one by one to ensure the meringues dry evenly and retain their crunchy texture. Place them in a preheated oven at 90 degrees Celsius 194 degrees Fahrenheit and let them dry for 1 hour and 30 minutes. For better results, place a kitchen towel in the oven door to keep it slightly ajar. This will allow steam to escape while the meringues dry, helping them become perfectly crispy. Finally, fill the meringues with extra firm Oreo cream. If you don't know how to prepare it, you can find the full recipe on my channel. Meanwhile, melt dark chocolate and mix it with 2 teaspoons of odorless oil to give it a smoother and shinier finish. Dip the meringue roses halfway into the melted chocolate and decorate with raspberries and almond croquante to give them an elegant touch. Place the decorated pieces in the refrigerator for 10 minutes, or until the chocolate has completely hardened. Once ready, make sure the meringues are completely cool before storing them. You can keep them in an airtight container at room temperature, away from humidity and direct light, for up to 2 weeks. Without the filling. Meringue doesn't have to be boring. Dare to try this delicious combination: crunchy meringue, Oreo cream filling, and a touch of chocolate, a mix that's irresistible and will surprise anyone. Plus, their presentation is beautiful, like little mini cakes that look elegant and fun at the same time. Perfect for any occasion. I hope you give this recipe a try, which is not only beautiful but also absolutely delicious, easy, and economical. Try this recipe at home and let me know in the comments what you think. Are you ready to add your personal touch? Don't forget to like, subscribe to the channel, and share this idea with your friends. And don't go just yet, I still have one more recipe to show you. And this is the last recipe. I know some of you might say these aren't really cookies, but this dessert is so good, so delicious, and since it's also small in size, I just had to include it in this video. Honestly, you have to try making this at least once in your life. It's incredible. An irresistible dessert, ideal for surprising at celebrations or simply to treat yourself to something special. In a bowl, mix 80 g, 2.8 ounces, of softened butter with 100 g, half a cup packed, of brown sugar until you get a smooth and homogeneous paste. Add 10 g 1 tablespoon of cocoa powder and 90 g 3/4 cup of flour and mix until fully combined. Form a ball with your hands, place it between 2 sheets of parchment paper, and roll it out with a rolling pin until you get a thin layer. Place the crackling dough in the freezer until ready to use. Sift 135 g 1 cup plus 1 tablespoon of flour with 10 g 1 tablespoon of cocoa and set it aside for now. In a saucepan over medium heat, place 125 milliliters, half a cup, of whole milk, 125 milliliters, half a cup, of water, 110 g 7.7 tablespoons, of butter, and a pinch of salt. Heat the mixture until the butter melts and it starts to boil, stirring occasionally with a spatula. Add the 135 g 1 cup plus 1 tablespoon of sifted flour and the 10 g 1 tablespoon of cocoa all at once. Stir quickly with a spatula or metal whisk, vigorously, until the mixture is fully incorporated and forms a smooth dough. Lower the heat and continue stirring the dough until it dries out completely and comes away from the sides and bottom of the saucepan. This should take about 2 to 3 minutes. Remove the dough from the heat and transfer it to a large bowl. If you have a stand mixer like a KitchenAid, place the dough in the mixing bowl and use the paddle attachment. Work the dough at medium speed until it cools down to about 45 degrees Celsius 113 degrees Fahrenheit. Once the dough is almost cool, start incorporating 250 g 5 units of eggs gradually. Add 1 egg at a time, letting it fully integrate before adding the next. Continue mixing until the dough is smooth, homogeneous, and has a soft consistency. If you lift it with a spatula, it should fall in a ribbon-like shape without breaking. This indicates that the dough is ready. Place the choux dough in a piping bag with a round, plain nozzle. Prepare a baking tray with a silicone mat or parchment paper. Pipe small balls of choux dough onto the mat. Take the crackling dough out of the freezer. Using a 4 cm, 1.5 in round cutter, cut crackling discs. Place 1 disc on top of each choux ball, pressing down gently. Preheat the oven to 170 degrees Celsius 340 degrees Fahrenheit. Bake the choux for about 30 minutes. Turn off the oven and leave the petit choux inside for 5 more minutes to finish cooking. Let the choux cool on a wire rack before cutting and filling them. The best part is that you can freeze them without the filling, which is fantastic if you want to have them ready in advance for a special occasion. You just need to bake them, let them cool, and store them well covered in the freezer. Here I'll show you how to fill these delicious treats with creamy chocolate and dulce de leche pastry cream. I use 2 versions of the dulce de leche cream, a softer one for the filling, and a firmer one for the final decoration. For the finishing touch, I use the Wilton No. 1M and 1E tips, which give a stylish and professional look to each piece. Below, I'll leave you the tutorials for these 2 spectacular creams that I recently uploaded to my channel. I think showing it this way, with a complete and well-organized recipe, is a practical way for everyone to save it easily and prepare it just as I show. Next, I'll show you step by step how to make these 2 delicious creams, a smooth and creamy chocolate one, perfect for filling, and a firmer dulce de leche pastry cream, ideal for decorating. Both deliver an irresistible flavor and are very easy to make at home if you follow the instructions carefully. Don't worry if you've never made them before, I'll guide you through every detail so you can achieve perfect results, even if it's your first time. Add 4 egg yolks, 300 milliliters, 10 fluid ounces of warm milk, 50 g, 1.75 ounces of white sugar, and 30 g, 1 ounce of cornstarch to a bowl. Mix well until the ingredients are fully combined. Use a saucepan with a thick bottom and place it over the heat. It's important to stir constantly to avoid lumps and to prevent the cream from burning. Cook over medium heat until the cream thickens completely. Once it has boiled enough, add 300 g, 10.5 ounces, of dulce de leche or milk caramel. You can use baking dulce de leche, classic dulce de leche, or even boiled condensed milk. Stir well and let it boil for a few seconds before turning off the heat. Transfer the pastry cream to another container and cover it with plastic wrap in direct contact with the surface to prevent a skin from forming. Let the cream cool down at room temperature and then refrigerate it until it is completely chilled. Once cold, it will have a firm and delicious texture. For a smoother texture, you can whisk it with a manual whisk or a hand mixer. Another way to use the pastry cream. Add 250 milliliters, 8.5 fluid ounces, of cold whipping cream. In this case, I use ambient Piratos sweetened vegetable cream, but you can use dairy cream or any other whipping cream. I'll set a timer to show you the correct whipping time. Whip the cream until stiff peaks form. Once ready, incorporate half the amount of pastry cream and continue whipping until fully combined. In total, whipping takes about 5 minutes for this quantity and type of cream. Observe the firm and perfect texture of the cream. Uses and decoration. This cream is ideal for filling cupcakes and decorating them with the firm cream, filling chocolate bonbons and decorating eclairs or choux, filling cakes and decorating them with the firm chantilly-style cream. For decorating, you can use different types of piping tips. For example, I'll demonstrate below as I usually do in my tutorials. Wilton tip 1M for rosettes. Large tip number 353 for larger details. Tip number 123 for petals and flowers. With this versatile cream, you can create spectacular and delicious decorations. Give it a try. The dulce de leche or milk caramel pastry cream is a delicious and versatile version of classic pastry cream. Its smooth and creamy texture, combined with the rich and sweet flavor of dulce de leche, makes it a perfect filling for cakes, eclairs, choux, cupcakes, and more. It can also be mixed with whipped cream to obtain a firm and airy cream, ideal for decorating. The combination of dulce de leche and pastry cream makes it unique and delicious. It can be used on its own or combined with whipped cream to achieve different textures. It allows you to make elegant and sophisticated decorations with piping tips. Perfect for filling and decorating without losing its stability. Easy to prepare, with simple ingredients and an easy process, you'll get a professional cream. To maintain its freshness and texture, store the pastry cream in an airtight container in the fridge. It lasts up to 3 days refrigerated. If you use vegetable whipping cream, the cream will stay stable for 4 to 5 days in the fridge. And don't go just yet. Up next, I'm going to show you how to make another filling you can use for these bonbons. This time, it'll be a chocolate one. The chocolate cream is one of those irresistible recipes that becomes an essential basic in baking. With a smooth, silky, and rich texture, this cream offers the perfect mix of chocolate, cream, and egg yolks. Soak 5g, 0.18 ounces, of gelatin in cold water and let it soften. Set it aside. In a bowl, mix 4 egg yolks with 60g, 2.1 ounces, of granulated sugar. In a saucepan, heat 400g, 14 ounces, of cream and 60g, 2 ounces, of whole milk until it boils. Pour the hot mixture over the egg yolks, stirring constantly. Return everything to the heat and cook over low heat until it reaches 82 degrees Celsius 180 degrees Fahrenheit. Remove from the heat and add the hydrated gelatin, mixing well. Pour the hot cream over 300g, 10.5 ounces, of chopped dark chocolate and let it melt for a few seconds. Use a manual whisk or immersion blender to achieve a smooth, homogeneous texture. Cover the surface with plastic wrap and let it set in the fridge for several hours. Once firm, look at this texture. You can use it to fill bonbons, macarons, cookies, layered cakes, choux, eclairs, and much more. I will whip the cream with a hand mixer at medium-high speed until it becomes creamy and spreadable. When you whip it, its texture and color change, becoming smoother, creamier, and with a lovely coffee tone. Now, I'll show you how to use piping tips, as I usually do in my tutorials. This chocolate cream is not only delicious but also easy to store. Keep it in the fridge for several days without losing its smoothness, and if you wish, you can freeze it to have it ready at any time. It's a perfect recipe to have in your baking arsenal because, in addition to being simple to prepare, it adds an exquisite touch to your sweet creations, whether as a filling, decoration, or accompaniment. A cream for all chocolate and pastry lovers. If you liked this step-by-step guide, give it a like, share it, and subscribe for more recipes. See you in the next video. Thank you so much, and see you soon. Let's make some delicious snowy cherry and Nutella bites, an easy and budget-friendly recipe you're going to love. You can make these croissants with cherries or with any other fruit you like, and if you don't want to use fresh fruit, you can also fill them with a bit of jam. They'll still turn out delicious. What really sets these croissants apart from other types is the dough. It's not soft or brioche-like. It's a dry, crisp, and light pastry. You're going to love it. It's rare to find a dough like this, so easy to work with and with such a unique texture. First, we add 300 grams of pitted cherries or sour cherries, about 2 cups either frozen or fresh, along with their juice. We boil them for just a minute, or until they start to bubble, then remove from heat. We drain them very well to remove all the juice and spread them out on a plate, separating them a bit so they cool faster. We set the plate with the cherries aside and continue with the recipe. Let's weigh the 4 ingredients we need. 400 grams of lard at room temperature, about 1 3/4 cups. 100 grams of butter, 7 tablespoons. 600 grams of plain Greek-style yogurt, about 2½ cups. And 1.2 kilos of all-purpose flour, about 9½ cups. Once we've measured and prepped the ingredients, we sift the flour directly into the mixer bowl. We add the softened butter. If it's not at room temperature, you can warm it for a few seconds in the microwave. We add the lard and the 600 grams of yogurt, 2½ cups. No need to knead beforehand, just turn on the stand mixer and mix until the ingredients are well combined. You can also do this part easily by hand. The idea is just to bring the ingredients together, without overworking the dough. Once the dough is ready, we place it on the work surface, sprinkle with a bit of flour, and knead a little more by hand. We roll it out lightly, divide it into 2 parts, and wrap them in plastic wrap or place them in a bag. The dough needs to rest in the fridge for at least 2 hours to firm up a bit. Here I'm showing you a dough I prepared earlier. I'll swap it now. The one we just made goes into the fridge, and I'll continue with the chilled one. With a knife, I cut a portion of the dough, about 300 grams, around 10.5 ounces. I sprinkle a bit of flour on the surface and roll the dough out on a round board. You can also roll it directly on your work surface and, if you prefer, use a plate to mark a circle. Once you have the circle, use a dough cutter to cut as follows, first in half, then in half again, and then into equal parts. This way, you'll get 12 triangles to form small croissants, just the right size for 2 or 3 bites, no more. The dough is perfect, it rolls out really well, not sticky at all, and super easy to work with. I recommend making this dough because it's great for a large batch of croissants. If you want, you can make only half the amount, or prepare the whole batch and freeze part of it for another day. You can play around with this dough however you like, it's fantastic. With this amount of dough, I got 2.6 kilos, about 5.7 pounds, of croissants. A huge batch of treats to enjoy. Once it's rolled out and cut into 12 triangles, I place the cherries or sour cherries on each triangle. I place 2 or 3 cherries per triangle, then roll the croissant like this. I pinch a little dough at the base to hold the cherries, then with a slight movement of the finger, it forms perfectly. You'll see the dough is thin, strong, and not sticky at all. I'll go ahead and form all the croissants, and to half of the dough I'll add Nutella. I place about half a teaspoon of Nutella on each croissant, or even less, depending on your taste. Once they're all formed, I'll bake them using a convection oven. I got 3.5 trays out of this, and I'll bake all 4 trays at once. If you're using a conventional oven, preheat to 170 degrees Celsius 340 degrees Fahrenheit and bake for 30 to 35 minutes, or until the edges begin to turn golden. No more. If your oven isn't convection, you'll need to bake 1 tray at a time. But if it is, you can bake 3 or 4 trays at once and everything cooks more evenly. Now I'm going to roll them in powdered sugar on a tray. I use a generous amount of powdered sugar and coat several croissants at once, while they're still warm, so they absorb just the right amount. Then I place them on a plate so you can see how many came out. They turned out perfect. In this recipe, the dough has no sugar, so the sweetness comes from the cherries, sour cherries, or Nutella. Then we coat them in powdered sugar while they're still hot, and they absorb a lot of sugar. They'll end up snowy, white, beautiful, and of course, full of sweetness. They're really delicious, I truly suggest you try them. They're amazing the same day, but even better the next day or the day after. I totally recommend them. They're very easy to make, and you don't need a mixer like I show in the video. You can easily knead by hand, just mix the ingredients, chill the dough in the fridge for a couple of hours, roll out, and bake. And that's it. They're honestly so tasty. Thank you so much for being here, for following along, for watching my recipes and commenting on my tutorials. I truly enjoy reading your comments, even if I can't always reply. I'm sorry about that. I'd love to see in the comments if you've made this recipe, because it really is very, very good. It's an old recipe that I love. I use butter, but it was originally made with margarine. If you prefer, you can swap the butter for margarine, no problem. It's a traditional recipe, really good, and for me, it's such a joy to make it, share it, and wait for your feedback. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, give it a like, and share the recipe so it reaches more people. And if you make it, let me know in the comments how it turned out. I'd love to see your versions. Thank you so much, and see you soon. I crack 2 eggs and place them in a saucepan with a thick bottom. I add 1 cup of white sugar, which is about 200 grams or 7 ounces. Then 2 tablespoons of flour, around 20 grams or 0.7 ounces, and right after that, 2 tablespoons of cornstarch, maizena, approximately 16 grams or just over half an ounce. I mix a bit and optionally add 2 packets of vanilla sugar, which equals 16 grams or a little more than half an ounce, although you can also use a generous teaspoon of vanilla extract. I have ready 2.5 cups of whole milk, that's 600 milliliters or 20 fluid ounces, which you can use cold, room temperature, or slightly warm, whichever you prefer or have on hand. I pour in a little bit of the milk to start mixing and then add the rest of the whole milk. I take the saucepan to the stove and begin stirring while I wait for it to boil, keeping the heat high. I stir constantly to avoid lumps, and once it comes to a boil, I let it cook for 1 more minute. Since it contains cornstarch and flour, boiling helps eliminate the raw taste. Once the cream thickens, I transfer it to a heat-proof bowl, cover it with plastic wrap directly touching the surface, and let it cool slightly before refrigerating for at least an hour. You can also prepare it the night before and use it the next day without any problem. Now I'm going to prepare the sponge cake sheet to make a Swiss roll. I crack 5 eggs, separating the whites into one bowl and the yolks into another. I have 1 cup of sugar, which is 200 grams or 7 ounces, and I'm going to divide it into 2 halves. I add 1 half to the bowl with the yolks and reserve the other half for the egg whites. I start beating the egg whites, gradually adding the sugar in 2 or 3 batches, beating until I get a stiff and glossy French meringue. This is how it should look, firm and shiny. I set the meringue aside and go to the bowl with the yolks and sugar. Optionally, I add 2 packets of vanilla sugar, that's 16 grams or just over half an ounce, and beat until well combined and the yolks lighten in color. I add 4 tablespoons of very hot water, which is 60 milliliters or a quarter cup, mix carefully because it can splash at this point, and then add half a cup of cornstarch, about 65 grams or 2.3 ounces, and half a cup of all-purpose flour, also around 65 grams or 2.3 ounces. I also add half a teaspoon of baking powder, which is about 2 grams or 0.07 ounces. I start mixing with the mixer off to avoid a mess, then beat a little more until everything is well combined and lump-free. Next, I add half of this mixture into the bowl with the meringue and gently fold it in with a spatula to avoid losing the incorporated air. Then I add the other half of the yolk mixture and mix carefully again. With the batter ready, I pour it onto a large baking tray lined with parchment paper, ungreased. I spread the batter evenly until smooth and bake it in a preheated oven at 170 degrees Celsius, which is 340 Fahrenheit, for 15 to 20 minutes, until golden and fully baked. When I take it out of the oven, I place another sheet of parchment paper on top and flip it over. I remove the bottom paper and place a third clean sheet on top so that it's wrapped between 2 papers. I roll it up while still hot so it takes on the Swiss roll shape and let it cool. Meanwhile, I prepare the filling cream. I take the chilled pastry cream out of the fridge, it's now firm. In another bowl, I place 250 grams of vegetable whipping cream, that's about 9 ounces or a generous cup. In this case, I use ambient Puratos cream, and beat it with an electric mixer until stiff peaks form. This is how it should look, it forms waves and holds perfectly. I love this cream because it goes a long way. Now I take the firm pastry cream and beat it briefly with the electric mixer. Look how creamy and beautiful it becomes, the texture changes completely after beating. I add half of this cream to the whipped cream and beat to combine. Then I add the other half and beat again until I get a firm, delicious cream that's perfect for filling. This is how it should look: extra firm, holds its shape, and looks beautiful for decorating. If I swipe my finger through it, the mark stays. Love it. Now I'm going to unroll the sponge cake. I remove the papers and lay it flat. I place 5 or 6 tablespoons of the cream in the center and spread it just in the middle, leaving the sides free on both edges, so the filling doesn't spill out when rolling. I place ripe bananas on top of the cream. You can use any fruit you like, but I had these bananas and they were just right. I carefully roll up the sponge cake, wrap it with the paper, giving it a little pressure so it keeps its shape, and let it chill in the fridge so it sets well. I place the dessert in the fridge to cool while I prepare the chocolate ganache for the drip. I use 1 cup of dark chocolate, which is about 150 grams or 5.3 ounces, 40 milliliters of milk, about 2.5 tablespoons, and 30 grams of butter, roughly 2 tablespoons. You can use butter or even oil if you prefer. I microwave it to melt slightly and mix. Once it's fluid, I let it cool a bit and thicken slightly, because the drip works better when the chocolate is a bit thicker. It looks much nicer. While the drip cools, I cut the cake roll. I'm cutting it into 5 pieces and standing them upright like little logs. This cake looks amazing. I place the drip into a piping bag. You can also use a bag or even a spoon to create the drip effect I'm showing you. Once it's a bit cooler and thicker, I add it to each mini cake this way, forming the drip, then a little decoration on top, which is totally optional. But it tastes great too. When you eat it, that bit of chocolate really adds something. I use compound chocolate. You can use any type of chocolate you like, in any color or flavor. I put the remaining cream in a piping bag fitted with a 4B star tip and pipe a lovely decoration on top of each mini cake. Then I add a teaspoon of crushed pistachios, a few raspberries, and a little mint to each cake, totally optional. You can personalize it however you like. You can change the flavor of the sponge too. You could make it chocolate. It would look beautiful with the white cream and banana inside. And that's it. You can place it in the fridge to chill or serve it right away. As I always say in my tutorials, thank you so much for being here. Huge thanks to all the new members of my channel. I'm so happy to see more and more people joining, supporting, and showing love every day. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Support me by sharing this video and all the ones you're watching. That way you help more people discover me. I hope you liked this recipe. See you very soon. Thank you so much and see you next time. Welcome to my channel. Today, we're making perfect purple macarons with a delicate, smooth texture and a delicious filling. I'll guide you through every step, from preparing the meringue to achieving the perfect consistency for a flawless macaron shell. These treats may seem tricky, but with the right technique, you'll master them in no time. Don't forget to subscribe, leave a comment, and let me know where you're watching from. Now, let's get started. 135 g, 4.76 ounces approximate 4.75 large egg whites, aged for at least 2 hours. Aging egg whites means letting them rest uncovered in the fridge for 24 to 48 hours. This helps create a more stable meringue. 190 g, 6.7 ounces 1 cup, granulated sugar. 190 g, 6.7 ounces 1 3/4 cups, almond flour, finely ground for the smoothest texture. 190 g, 6.7 ounces 1 1/2 cups, powdered sugar, store-bought for best results. Mix the powdered sugar with the almond flour in a food processor to get a fine, even texture, then sift twice. This helps create smooth and delicate macarons. Beat the aged egg whites until frothy, then gradually add the granulated sugar. Continue beating until the meringue is firm, glossy, and forms stiff peaks. Add a small amount of purple gel food coloring and mix well. If needed, add a little more for a deeper color. Fold the sifted almond flour and powdered sugar into the meringue. Mix gently until the batter reaches the ribbon stage, when it flows like lava and dissolves back into itself within 20 to 25 seconds. Be careful not to overmix or undermix. Transfer the batter into a piping bag with a round tip and pipe small circles onto a lined baking tray. Tap the tray against the counter to remove air bubbles. For an elegant touch, lightly dust with edible gold powder before baking. Let the macarons rest at room temperature for 30 to 60 minutes until a dry skin forms. Bake in a convection oven at 135 degrees Celsius 275 degrees Fahrenheit for 20 minutes, both trays at once, or a static oven at 135 degrees Celsius 275 degrees Fahrenheit for 20 minutes, one tray at a time, with heat from top and bottom. The macarons are done when they have a smooth shell and don't wobble when touched. Let them cool completely before filling. Use a piping bag with Swiss buttercream or your favorite filling. I recommend piping tip 1E for a beautiful effect. For the best texture, refrigerate the filled macarons in an airtight container for 24 hours before serving. If you liked my video, I'd be so happy if you subscribe to my channel and leave a comment. Let me know where you're from and how your macarons turned out. Thanks for being here, and see you in the next recipe. Today, I bring you 4 big and budget-friendly dessert recipes, perfect for the whole family. These are generous portions, great for sharing at gatherings, family meals, or even for gifting to friends and neighbors. Because who doesn't love receiving a delicious homemade treat? Plus, making larger batches saves time and effort, so you'll have something sweet ready for several days without having to cook again. So stay with me, because in this video, you'll find easy, refreshing, and absolutely delicious desserts that will impress everyone without breaking the bank. And don't worry about the measurements, I'll be giving both European and American conversions so that everyone can follow along effortlessly. Now, let's get started. For this dessert, we will need 2 packets of powdered whipping cream or chantilly, each weighing 48 grams, which is about 1.7 ounces per packet. We will also use 3 packets of gelatin, which will help give our dessert a firm and delicious texture. Our main fruit will be fresh strawberries, but this part is optional since you can substitute them with any other fruit you prefer, such as peaches, raspberries, or mango, which all go perfectly with this recipe. Additionally, we need 4 bananas, which will add a sweet and creamy touch, very cold milk to whip the cream, and Maria biscuits or any other type of biscuit you like. The mold I am using measures 38 by 25 centimeters, which is approximately 15 by 10 inches. We start by placing the biscuits in the mold. We will use 1.5 packs of Maria biscuits and break them into large pieces. This will help create a more interesting texture, as some parts will stay crunchy while others will soften from absorbing the moisture of the cream and gelatin. Now, let's prepare the first gelatin. We take 1 packet of raspberry gelatin, which is 72 grams or 2.5 ounces, and add 1 cup of very hot water, which is 250 milliliters or 8.5 fluid ounces. Meanwhile, we whip the cream. In a mixing bowl, add 2 packets of powdered whipping cream, each 48 grams or 1.7 ounces, and pour in 1.5 cups of very cold milk, which is 300 milliliters or 10 fluid ounces. If you prefer a creamier version, you can substitute the milk and powdered cream with 500 milliliters or 16.9 fluid ounces of liquid dairy or non-dairy whipping cream. Before turning on the mixer, stir the ingredients a little to prevent the powder from flying everywhere, and then beat on medium-high speed until the mixture doubles in volume and becomes firm. It's important that the gelatin is not hot when we incorporate it later, because if it's too warm, it could melt the whipped cream and affect the final texture of the dessert. Now that our whipped cream is ready and the raspberry gelatin has cooled, slowly add the gelatin to the whipped cream while continuing to beat for 3 more minutes. This will help it blend well and give the cream a soft pink color, while also making it firmer. The next step is to moisten the biscuits with half a cup of milk. If you prefer, you can use fruit juice instead, such as orange juice, raspberry juice, or even coffee, depending on the flavor you want to highlight. Once the biscuits are nicely soaked, cover them with all the cream, making sure to spread it evenly with a spatula. Then, place the mold in the refrigerator while we prepare the fruit. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any of my new videos. It really helps me keep creating content for you. Take 3 or 4 bananas and cut them into large pieces. Then, do the same with 300 grams or 10.5 ounces of fresh strawberries. The best thing about this recipe is that you can use any type of fruit you like, such as kiwi, mango, or berries, to give it a different touch each time you make it. Once the fruit is ready, arrange it evenly over the whipped cream and gelatin layer. Now, let's prepare the final layer of gelatin, which will give our dessert a beautiful shine and help keep the fruit fresh for longer. For this, we take 2 packets of cherry gelatin, each weighing 72 grams or 2.5 ounces, and add 1 cup of very hot water, which is 250 milliliters or 8.5 fluid ounces. Stir well until completely dissolved and then add 1 cup of very cold water, with the same measurement. To get a clearer gelatin, you can strain it before pouring it over the fruit. Carefully pour the gelatin over the cream and fruit, ensuring that it covers the entire surface evenly. Place the mold in the refrigerator and let it chill for 1 hour, or until the gelatin is fully set. Once it's ready, gently unmold and enjoy this delicious, refreshing dessert. The combination of the soft biscuits, airy whipped cream, and fruity gelatin is simply irresistible. It has the perfect balance of creaminess and freshness, making it an ideal treat for hot summer days. If you liked this recipe, you can support me by sharing the video on your social media. It really helps me a lot. Also, make sure to check out my other videos for more easy and delicious recipes. And don't go anywhere just yet, because the recipes coming up next are even better. If you thought this one was delicious, wait until you see what's next. Big, family-sized desserts that are just as easy and budget-friendly. Perfect for sharing at gatherings, family meals, or even gifting to friends and neighbors. You won't want to miss them, so stay tuned because the best is yet to come. And now we're making a layered honey cake, one of the most famous and beloved cakes in my family. The combination of caramel-flavored layers, semolina cream, and tangy jam is simply special. Stay with me, take notes, and learn this fantastic recipe. In a saucepan, melt 120 g, 4.2 ounces, of butter with 200 g, 7 ounces, of honey over medium heat. Once the honey is melted, add 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract and 250 g, 8.8 ounces, of sugar. Stir well and heat until the sugar is fully dissolved, then let it boil for 1 minute. Once done, remove the pan from the heat and let it cool completely. On a clean work surface or in a large bowl, place approximately 900 g, 7¼ cups, of sifted flour, but keep some extra flour aside. Make a well in the center and add 2 eggs. Then, pour in the cold honey mixture, followed by 1 teaspoon of baking soda and 50 to 100 milliliters, 3.3 to 6.7 tablespoons, of cold milk, adding only as much as needed to form a soft dough. Grate in some orange zest for extra flavor. Mix and knead everything well until you get a soft, elastic dough that's easy to handle. Don't forget that you can find all the ingredients written down in the pinned comment and in the video description. This way, you can easily check them while preparing the recipe, making sure you don't miss anything. Before you start, take a moment to review the list so you have everything ready. This will make the process even smoother and more enjoyable. Divide the dough into 4 equal portions. Lightly flour your work surface and roll out 4 large sheets of 42 by 33 centimeters, 16.5 by 13 inches. This is the size of my baking trays. Also, prepare parchment paper sheets of the same size beforehand so you can place the raw dough sheets on them before baking. Once you've rolled out all the sheets, trim the edges to make them even. Then, prick them lightly with a fork to prevent them from puffing up during baking. For a static oven, bake each sheet separately at 180 degrees Celsius 356 degrees Fahrenheit for 15 minutes. If using a convection oven, bake multiple sheets together at the same temperature for 10 to 15 minutes. After baking, let the sheets cool completely. Once cooled, they can be stacked with parchment paper in between and stored for up to a week before assembling the cake. At this stage, the kitchen smells absolutely amazing. Honey, vanilla, and orange zest create a warm, inviting aroma. Now, let's make the semolina cream, a quick and easy filling. In a saucepan, bring 750 milliliters, 3¼ cups, of milk to a boil along with 2 packets of vanilla sugar and 250 g, 8.8 ounces, of sugar. When the milk starts boiling, slowly sprinkle in the semolina while stirring constantly to prevent lumps. Cook the semolina on low heat for 2 minutes, stirring continuously. Once done, transfer the mixture to another bowl, cover it well, and let it cool completely at room temperature. Now, take 300 g, 10.5 ounces, of softened butter and beat it for 1 minute until creamy. Gradually add the cooled semolina mixture in batches, beating only until fully combined. And just like that, our cream is ready. For the jam layer, I chose homemade apricot jam mixed with homemade berry jam because they have a fantastic balance of sweetness and tanginess. You can also use rosehip jam, plum jam, mixed berry jam, or any jam of your choice. Let's assemble our cake. Place 1 sheet on a tray and spread half of the semolina cream evenly over it. Add the second sheet, press it down slightly, and spread all the jam evenly. Add the third sheet, press it gently, and spread the remaining semolina cream over the top. Finally, place the fourth and final sheet on top. This is a giant cake, measuring 42 by 33 centimeters, 16.5 by 13 inches, and yielding 44 individual portions, perfect for serving a large group or saving for later. To set the cake, place a clean sheet of parchment paper on top, followed by a wooden board or a flat tray with some weight on it. This helps the layers stick together evenly. Leave the cake in the pantry overnight or refrigerate it. The longer this cake rests, the softer and more flavorful it becomes. Ideally, let it sit for 2 days before serving for the best texture. The honey layers need 24 to 48 hours to absorb moisture and soften, transforming into a tender, melt-in-your-mouth delight. The cake sheets can be prepared up to 10 days in advance and stored lightly wrapped in the refrigerator or pantry. Then, simply fill and assemble the cake 1 to 2 days before serving. This makes it a practical dessert for special occasions. Once assembled, this cake stays fresh in the fridge for 1 week and can also be frozen for up to 3 months. And don't go anywhere just yet, because the next recipe is truly special. It was my grandmother's absolute favorite, and every time I make it, it brings back beautiful memories of her. She passed away last year, but this dessert keeps her spirit alive in my kitchen. The flavors, the aroma, and the love she put into every step make it one of the most meaningful recipes I know. I'd love to share it with you, just as she shared it with me. Stay with me, you won't want to miss it. Now I'm sharing a very special dessert with you that brings back so many childhood memories. This was my grandmother's recipe, the one she used to make for me, and it has always been my absolute favorite. The combination of soft, airy sponge cake with poppy seeds and coconut, topped with a silky mascarpone and condensed milk cream, is simply irresistible. We begin by beating 10 egg whites with a pinch of salt until soft peaks form. This step is crucial to achieving a light and airy base. Once the egg whites have doubled in volume, we gradually add 200 g, 1 cup, of sugar, beating continuously until we get a glossy and foamy texture. Next, we gently fold in the dry ingredients, 150 g, 1¼ cups, of poppy seeds, 100 g, 1 cup, of shredded coconut, and 3 tablespoons of flour, 24 g/0.85 ounces. We mix everything using gentle folding motions with a whisk or silicone spatula to keep as much air in the batter as possible. This is the key to getting a fluffy and delicate sponge. Preheat your oven to 170 degrees Celsius 350 degrees Fahrenheit and line a rectangular baking pan with parchment paper. Pour the batter into the pan, smooth it out gently, and bake at 170 degrees Celsius 350 degrees Fahrenheit for 30 to 35 minutes, or until a toothpick inserted in the center comes out clean. For an even moister cake, you can add 3 tablespoons of milk. In a large bowl, beat 500 milliliters, 2 cups, of cold heavy cream until it starts to thicken. Then, add 2 packets of vanilla sugar, 8g 0.3 ounces each, or 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract, along with 200 milliliters, 7 ounces, of sweetened condensed milk, and continue beating until smooth. Next, incorporate 300g, 10.5 ounces, of mascarpone, mixing just until fully combined. The mascarpone gives the cream an irresistible silky texture and a rich, fresh flavor that perfectly balances the cake's sweetness. To ensure a stable consistency, we hydrate 15g, 0.5 ounces, of gelatin in 40 milliliters, 1.35 ounces, of cold water. Let it sit for 5 minutes, then gently heat it until fully dissolved, making sure it doesn't boil. Add the dissolved gelatin to the cream while mixing at low speed to incorporate it evenly. Once the cake has completely cooled, spread a generous, even layer of cream over it, smoothing it out with a spatula. To finish, sprinkle shredded coconut, poppy seeds, or even fresh fruit for a beautiful and flavorful decoration. Then, trim the edges and cut into portions as desired. The result? A dessert that is delicate, creamy, and bursting with flavor, a perfect balance between lightness and richness. Ideal for any occasion, whether it's a casual family gathering, a weekend treat, or even a festive celebration. And don't forget, all the ingredients are written in the pinned comment and in the video description so you can easily check them anytime. Before you go, don't leave just yet. Trust me, you don't want to miss what's coming next. There are cakes that captivate us with their looks, others with how easy they are to make, and some simply because of their incredible flavor. This recipe has it all. It's delicious, simple, and absolutely irresistible. Let's get started with the recipe. Crack 5 eggs into a bowl. As you can see, one of the eggs had a double yolk. No worries, I mention it because in the video, you'll see 6 yolks instead of 5. Add 3g, 1/2 teaspoon, of salt and start whisking until slightly foamy. Next, add 200g, 1 cup, of sugar and continue beating on high speed for about 3 to 4 minutes, until the mixture becomes light and airy. Pour in 40 milliliters, 3 tablespoons, of oil and from this point on, mix gently using a whisk or a silicone spatula, avoiding overmixing. Add 1/4 teaspoon or a few drops of orange essence for a delightful citrus aroma. Finally, sift 150g, 1¼ cups, of all-purpose flour and 40g, 1/3 cup, of unsweetened cocoa powder into the mixture. Gently fold everything together until fully combined. I hope you make this cake often. Let me know in the comments how it turns out. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them. If you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, please do. Share this recipe, give me a thumbs up, and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any of my upcoming recipes. Preheat the oven to 150 degrees Celsius, 300 degrees Fahrenheit. Prepare a 40 by 30 centimeters, 16 by 12 inch, baking tray by greasing it with oil and lining it with parchment paper. Pour the batter into the tray, spread it evenly, and tap it a few times on the counter to remove any air bubbles. Bake at 150 degrees Celsius, 300 degrees Fahrenheit for 20 minutes. Meanwhile, prepare a syrup by mixing 50 milliliters, 3 tablespoons, of milk, 50 milliliters, 3 tablespoons, of condensed milk, and a few drops of orange essence. Poke holes all over the cake with a fork and pour the syrup over it, allowing it to soak in. Let the cake cool while preparing the cream. Now, let's move on to the cream. For this, we use 200g, 7 ounces, of unsalted butter at room temperature. Beat it for a few seconds until it becomes creamy. Add 150g, 1¼ cups, of powdered sugar and a few drops of orange extract. Continue beating on high speed for at least 3 minutes until the mixture is smooth and airy. Using a silicone spatula, scrape down the sides of the bowl to fully incorporate the butter into the cream. Next, add 600 g, 21 ounces, of very cold Philadelphia-style cream cheese. Beat just until combined, on medium-low speed. Do not overbeat, as this could cause the cream to curdle. It's best to mix with a silicone spatula to maintain the perfect creamy texture. Now, take the cold cake layer and spread the cream cheese mixture evenly over the entire surface. Use a spatula to smooth it out. Place the cake in the refrigerator for 1 hour. Next, we prepare the homemade gelatin. In a saucepan, add 100 g, 3/4 cup, of cornstarch, 100 g, half a cup, of sugar, and 1 liter, 4¼ cups, of orange juice. Mix with a whisk over high heat until it starts to boil and thickens. Once the gelatin is ready and thick, let it cool slightly, stirring occasionally so that it doesn't form a skin. Take the cake out of the fridge and pour the slightly warm gelatin over it. It should be at the right temperature, not too hot, as it would melt the cream cheese layer, and not too cold, as it would already be set. Spread the gelatin evenly over the cake and return it to the fridge for 2 hours before serving. Thank you so much for watching my video. Hope you enjoy this delicious cake. See you next time. Today I bring you a recipe with only 2 ingredients plus 2 waffle sheets, super easy to prepare in less than 5 minutes. And the best part? It's incredibly affordable. With just a few basic ingredients, you can create a delicious homemade dessert that tastes just as good, if not better, than store-bought ice cream cakes, but at a fraction of the cost. Pour 800 milliliters, about 3 1/3 cups, of cold heavy cream into a bowl and whip for 2 minutes until you achieve a thick and creamy consistency. Next, add 400 milliliters, about 1 3/4 cups, of sweetened condensed milk and continue whipping for another 2 minutes. Just like this, with only 2 ingredients, it already tastes amazing. But if you want to take it to the next level, you can add chocolate, nuts, syrup, or fruit cream, whatever you have on hand. This makes it not only easy but also customizable to your taste. To make the ice cream cake, you will need 2 waffle sheets. You can find them in supermarkets in packs of 4, and they are super budget friendly. They come in a rectangular shape like the ones I'm using, or in a round version. Place one waffle sheet at the bottom of a mold, pour the creamy mixture over it, and cover it with the second waffle sheet. Gently press to even it out and make sure the layers stick together. Then, take the ice cream cake to the freezer for at least 2 hours until it sets perfectly. The result? A deliciously creamy, homemade ice cream cake with a crunchy waffle layer. No need for an ice cream maker, no complicated steps, and no expensive ingredients. It's perfect for a quick dessert, a treat for guests, or just to satisfy your sweet cravings without spending too much. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, leave a comment if you liked this tutorial, or let me know with a thumbs up or a smiley face, it would make me very happy. And don't forget to share this tutorial with your friends, it would help me a lot to grow my channel. Now, take your ice cream cake out of the freezer, cut it into portions, and enjoy this creamy, crunchy, and budget-friendly homemade dessert. But don't go yet, I want to share another spectacular ice cream recipe with you. Did you know that you can turn simple ingredients into a delicious and sophisticated caramel ice cream? It's easy to make and doesn't require expensive ingredients, making it a very affordable option for any occasion. With toasted almonds and dark chocolate chips, this ice cream adds a touch of sophistication and texture. Try this recipe and surprise everyone with a dessert that is as delicious as it is accessible. Ice cream, in its most primitive forms, dates back thousands of years. Ancient civilizations like the Chinese and Persians were already enjoying frozen desserts made with snow mixed with fruits and honey. Caramel ice cream has remained popular due to its delicious and comforting blend of flavors. The addition of toasted almonds provides a crunchy touch that contrasts wonderfully with the smoothness of the ice cream and the sweetness of the caramel. In addition, the hint of dark chocolate adds a note of bitterness that balances the sweetness of the dessert, making it even more irresistible. I'd be very happy if you subscribe to my channel and leave a comment while I start with the recipe. First step, we make the caramel. Place 2 cups, 400 grams, 14 ounces, of sugar in a wide-bottomed pan. Cook over low heat, stirring occasionally, until the sugar melts and turns a soft, even golden color. It's important not to let the caramel darken too much to avoid a bitter taste that could ruin the sauce. I'm sharing my way of making a good liquid caramel sauce so you always have it ready to use in any kind of dessert, like flans or ice creams. Once the caramel is ready, add 2 cups, 480 milliliters, 16 fluid ounces, of water, little by little, very carefully as it may splatter. Use a wooden spoon to stir continuously while adding the water. If you prefer a less liquid sauce, you can reduce the amount of water. Add 1 cup, 240 milliliters, 8 fluid ounces, of milk and a quarter cup, 30 grams, 1 ounce, of cornstarch. Mix well and pour the mixture into the pan with the caramel, along with 60 grams, a quarter cup, 2 ounces, of butter and a pinch of salt. Boil for 5 minutes over medium-high heat until it thickens well. Let the caramel sauce cool to room temperature. Pour the caramel sauce into glass or plastic containers with lids. This recipe should fill two 350 milliliters, 12 fluid ounces containers. Store the caramel sauce in the refrigerator. This sauce is perfect for adding a sweet touch to flans, ice creams, and many other desserts. Now, let's toast some whole or chopped almonds, like the ones I have. Place half a bag, about 75 grams, 2.6 ounces, of almonds in a pan, without adding any fat, and heat over medium-low until they turn golden and become crispy. Transfer them to a container and let them cool. Here we go with the last step of the recipe. Very easy. Use 2 packets, 48 grams, 1.7 ounces each, of powdered whipping cream or chantilly, to which I will add 1.5 cups, 300 milliliters, 10 fluid ounces of very cold milk. Optionally, you can substitute it with 500 milliliters, 17 fluid ounces, of vegetable cream or dairy whipping cream. Stir a little with the mixer turned off to prevent the powder from spreading. Then beat until it doubles in volume and forms a firm whipped cream. Next, I add a generous amount of the cold caramel, beat again, and add more caramel and toasted almonds. Mix well and transfer the ice cream to 2 molds. For the first mold, which I want to unmold as an ice cream cake, I had plastic wrap to make it easier to remove. I also add dark chocolate chips. Friends, this ice cream is an easy, budget-friendly, and very, very creamy delight. I add the remaining ice cream to the second mold. Between the layers, you can add as much caramel and chocolate chips as you like, mixing it as I do. Place the molds in the freezer for a minimum of 4 hours or until the next day. Unmold the ice cream cake and decorate it with caramel, almonds, and chocolate. It's truly delicious, a fantastic and creamy ice cream. With the other mold, scoop the ice cream into balls, serve them in dessert cups, and decorate them with the rich caramel. Make this recipe, and you're sure to impress. This caramel ice cream is an absolute delight that combines the smoothness of creamy ice cream with the sweet and silky flavor of caramel. The base of perfectly whipped chantilly cream is generously mixed with a cold caramel sauce, creating a luxurious and rich texture. The toasted almonds add a crunchy touch that contrasts beautifully with the softness of the ice cream, while the dark chocolate chips bring an intense and delicious flavor. This dessert is not only easy to make and affordable, but also incredibly creamy, beautiful, and satisfying. Perfect for any special occasion or just to enjoy at home. This caramel ice cream is frozen in molds to achieve an ideal consistency and a flavor that will delight everyone. Whether served as an ice cream cake or in individual portions, it's the perfect sweet indulgence for any dessert lover. An indulgent and unforgettable experience in every bite. Thank you so much for watching, and see you soon. Today, I'm going to show you how to make an incredibly soft and delicious sponge cake. Everyone who tried it loved it, and the best part is that it's very easy to make. Step 1. Prepare the base mixture. First, separate 8 eggs into whites and yolks. Fun fact, separating the egg whites properly is key to achieving the perfect meringue. Make sure no yolk gets into the whites. To the 8 yolks, add 1/2 teaspoon of salt. This enhances the flavors and balances the sweetness. 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract adds a lovely aroma and a special touch to the batter. 120 milliliters, 1/2 cup of milk. 100 milliliters, 7 tablespoons of oil. This will give the cake a soft and moist texture. Mix well until fully combined. Now, sift in 120 g, 1 cup of flour and mix until smooth. Did you know? Sifting the flour helps prevent lumps and makes the batter lighter and airier. Divide the batter into 2 equal parts. To 1/2, add 25 g, 1/4 cup of unsweetened cocoa powder and 2 tablespoons of milk. Mix well until fully combined. Fun fact, cocoa powder not only adds flavor but also makes the batter slightly thicker, giving the cake a unique texture. Step 2. Prepare the meringue. In a separate bowl, start beating the 8 egg whites for 1 minute until foamy. Gradually add 150 g, 3/4 cup of sugar in 3 parts, beating for a total of 3 minutes. Why in 3 parts? Adding sugar gradually helps it dissolve better and makes the meringue more stable. add 1 teaspoon of lemon juice. This is a little baking trick. The acid in lemon juice helps stabilize the meringue and gives it a firmer texture. Be careful not to overbeat. Overbeating can make the egg whites too dry and cause them to lose volume. Step 3. Combine and bake. Divide the meringue into 2 parts. Gently fold one part into the chocolate batter and the other into the plain batter. Fun fact, folding gently is key to keeping the batter airy and light. Use slow, circular motions to avoid deflating the meringue. Fill 4 piping bags and use a cookie divider, or something similar, in a 20 by 20 by 10 centimeters, 8x 8x 4 inch pan to create a 2-tone pattern. Carefully remove the divider and decorate with chocolate chips. Step 4. Bake with a special trick. Place the pan in a larger baking tray and pour in boiling water, about 5 centimeters, 2 inches deep. This is the secret to an extra fluffy cake. The steam in the oven helps the cake bake evenly and stay moist. Bake at 160 degrees Celsius, 320 degrees Fahrenheit for 60 minutes. After 30 minutes, cover the cake with foil to prevent it from drying out or burning on top. And that's it. A perfect, soft, and delicious sponge cake. If you liked this recipe, give it a like and subscribe for more easy and delicious recipes. See you in the next video. Today, we're making a creamy coffee dessert in a cup, a simple yet absolutely delicious treat that's ready in just 6 minutes. Start by adding 30 g, half a cup, of Nescafe instant coffee, 100 g, half a cup, of sugar, and 150 milliliters, 2/3 cup, of very cold water to a bowl. Mix briefly, then use a hand mixer to beat the mixture until it becomes fluffy and creamy. This process may take a few minutes. The mixture should double in volume and achieve a smooth, airy texture. Where are you watching from? Let me know in the comments. Now, in another bowl, add 400 milliliters, 1 3/4 cups, of very cold heavy cream. I use ambient Puratos, but you can use any you prefer. Beat the heavy cream until it becomes fluffy and firm. Make sure it's properly chilled before whipping for the best results. Next, add 80 milliliters, 1/3 cup, of condensed milk to the whipped cream and continue beating until fully incorporated. Transfer the coffee cream into a piping bag fitted with a star tip. I use the N336 nozzle. To assemble the dessert, place a layer of chocolate cookies at the bottom of each cup. Pipe a layer of coffee cream on top. If your cup is deep enough, repeat the layers, finishing with a beautiful swirl of coffee cream on top. For the finishing touch, finely chop some chocolate and sprinkle it over the dessert. Refrigerate the cups for at least 1 hour before serving. This allows the layers to set and the flavors to blend beautifully. Enjoy your delicious coffee dessert in a cup, ready in just 6 minutes. I'd love to hear where you're watching from and how your dessert turned out. Thank you so much for your support. See you soon. Today I bring you a classic American recipe, the famous cinnamon rolls. But we've improvised a little to make it even better. What we didn't love about the original recipe was the amount of dough. It was too much, and the rolls would dry out after just a few hours. Plus, the powdered sugar glaze felt a bit boring. So, we've decided to share a fluffier and softer version with you, featuring less dough and a delicious Swiss meringue to give it a unique twist compared to the traditional powdered sugar glaze. Stay until the end of the video to learn how to make this super easy recipe, and I'll also share some tips to ensure your dough is extra fluffy and doesn't dry out quickly. For the dough, combine in a large bowl 360 g, 3 cups of all-purpose flour, 50 g, a quarter cup of sugar, 7 g, 2 1/4 tsp of dry yeast, half a teaspoon of salt. Mix a little with a spatula, then prepare 120 milliliters, half a cup of warm milk, 50 g, 4 tablespoons of melted butter, 40 milliliters, 2 1/2 tablespoons of oil, 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract. Add all the warm, not hot, liquids to the dry ingredients and mix slightly. Also, add half a glass of warm water, little by little, about 100 milliliters, 7 tablespoons. Start kneading by hand or with a professional mixer until the mixture forms a very soft and slightly sticky dough. The dough will be a bit sticky, but do not add more flour. Knead until it feels smooth, about 6 to 8 minutes, and add a few drops of olive oil while finishing kneading. Cover well with plastic wrap and let it rest for 2 hours or until it doubles in size. This is how your dough should look, soft and elastic. The small amount of olive oil I used helps make the dough more elastic, easy to work with, and gives it a very soft texture. Roll out the dough and divide it into 3 parts. Prepare the baking tray and grease it with a bit of olive oil or sunflower oil. Roll out 1 layer of dough as thinly as possible and place it on the grease tray. The tray I use is 33 by 23 centimeters, 13 by 9 inches. To roll out the layers of dough, use a little flour, just enough to prevent sticking. With a kitchen brush, spread soft or melted butter over the layer on the tray. I use about 2 tablespoons of melted butter in total. Now mix 150 g, 3/4 cup of brown sugar with 2 teaspoons of ground cinnamon. Spread half of this sugar mixture over the buttered layer. Repeat the process with the next layer, and cover the cinnamon roll cake with a final layer of dough, which we don't add anything to. Be sure to press down well with your fingers to seal the dough layers together like a seam, otherwise, they will separate during baking. Let it rest for 20 minutes before putting it in the oven. Bake this delicious cake at 170 to 180 degrees Celsius, 340 to 355 degrees Fahrenheit, for 20 to 25 minutes, or until it's golden brown and completely cooked inside. Let it cool while you prepare the Swiss meringue. The meringue recipe I use for this cake can be found in the link in the description of this video or at the top right of the screen. This flamed Swiss meringue will actually taste even better after 2 or 3 hours. It forms a crunchy crust on the outside while staying creamy on the inside. Let me know how yours turns out. See you in the next video.